Olivier, we all know that Nvidia is the bellwether, and they report later on this August. How important is this going to be in terms of an event for Mag 7, the leadership and the concentration in the market, and CapEx, specifically with Nvidia? If they are maintaining capital spending or even raising it, then that's going to be a big confidence booster. Do you believe that is what is going to happen? Is that the right way to frame it?
I think that's the right way to frame it. I think they're, the market share that they have and the demand pipeline that they're looking at should be enough. I don't think there's going to be any major issue there. Again, the one thing that I do keep looking at, and it's not a big deal, but it's something to be prepared for, just in case some of those numbers look a little bit weird, is TSMC and other fabricators may be boosting, just bringing in a price increase that we may start to see in August, or at least in the fall. And so that's going to impact Nvidia, it's going to impact AMD, it's going to impact Apple, ARM, Qualcomm, MediaTek, all the major chip stocks that you guys talk about that are really relevant to this AI disruption. So that's my one caveat, that we may have to lower expectations just a little bit based on that eventuality, but that's it. Everything else is solid. Nvidia's solid, AMD's gaining, Qualcomm and MediaTek are doing fantastic in the device space. And obviously, we're seeing some really interesting launches with the AI PCs and Copilot Plus, with Microsoft getting behind this, Intel entering the market later this year, shipping next year, AMD entering the market in force now, Qualcomm already having a really good quarter with early sales of Copilot Plus PCs. And I think we'll even see the mobile space go up in the low double digits growth year over year, thanks to on-device AI. So to me, yes, Nvidia is a bellwether, but I don't expect any negative news from Nvidia at the end of the month.
In a stunning turn of events in the technology sector, Huawei Technologies is set to introduce a new AI chip that could potentially unseat Nvidia's dominance in the Chinese market. The Wall Street Journal recently reported that Huawei's latest innovation, the Ascend 910C, is already being put through rigorous testing by major Chinese internet and telecommunications companies. With U.S. sanctions barring Nvidia from selling its most advanced chips to Chinese customers, Huawei's move comes as a fascinating counter-strategy, signaling an intense rivalry in the AI semiconductor arena. This gaming-changing chip has stirred significant interest from tech giants such as ByteDance, Baidu, and China Mobile, with initial projections placing potential orders at over 70,000 chips. Estimated to hold a staggering total value of around $2 billion, the Ascend 910C positions Huawei as a serious contender against Nvidia's H100. Analysts and tech enthusiasts are now holding their breath to see if Huawei's latest offering will deliver on its promise, or if it's destined to be another flash in the pan. So let's dive in. But first, if you want to keep up with the latest updates of companies like Nvidia and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Now, back to today's video.
Senior U.S. officials are set to visit China this week in an effort to bolster relations amid simmering trade tensions. This is as China's Huawei Technologies is reportedly readying a new chip that will challenge Nvidia. That's according to the Wall Street Journal, a sign that U.S. obstacles have failed to limit Chinese companies' abilities to keep pace with U.S. tech. Joining us now, Chris Miller, Tufts Assistant Professor of International History and author of Chip War, The Fight for the World's Most Critical Technology. So, Chris, another update in the chip war as far as U.S. versus China today with the news of Huawei building that chip. I'd be curious just sort of your takeaway here, what it means for U.S. chip companies in China to have Huawei building this product right now.
Well, I would say, first off, we don't know much about the details of this new Huawei chip. So how good it will actually be, how many will actually be produced, we're going to have to wait and see. And a lot really does depend on those details. But I think we shouldn't be surprised that Huawei is trying to build newer and better chips, given that the Chinese government has anointed Huawei as the country's chip champion, given it all the resources that it needs to try to catch up to Western leaders in chip production like Nvidia.
As Huawei prepares to disrupt the market with its Ascend 910C, one cannot ignore the backdrop against which this drama unfolds. U.S. sanctions implemented last year have halted Nvidia's direct sales of high-performance chips, such as the H100, to Chinese entities, citing national security concerns. In response, Nvidia offered watered-down versions, including the HGX H20, aimed specifically at the Chinese market but with capped computing power. While Nvidia's intention was clearly to comply with U.S. regulations while keeping a foot in the lucrative Chinese market, it unintentionally opened a door for competitors like Huawei. Interestingly, industry experts have compared Huawei's Ascend 910C to Nvidia's flagship H100, suggesting that the new chip is nearly on par in terms of performance. Huawei has wasted no time capitalizing on this, pitching the chip to potential clients, who it appears are keen to take the bait. ByteDance, Baidu, and China Mobile are among the first major names testing the new processor, showing signs that they might place substantial orders. With an aggressive timeline aiming for shipments to start as early as October, Huawei is not only addressing the current gap created by U.S. sanctions, but is also making a bold statement. Nvidia's reign is being challenged, at least within Chinese borders. One can't help but get excited at the idea of witnessing a shift in power dynamics in the AI hardware market. The U.S.-China tech war has profoundly influenced the strategies employed by companies on both sides. Years of sanctions and export controls have restricted Chinese tech firms from accessing critical components, thereby pushing companies like Huawei to expedite their R&D efforts in homegrown technologies. This in turn fuels an unpredictable landscape. The tension has forced Huawei to innovate at a rapid pace, ushering in products like the Ascend 910C. Let's not forget the geopolitical chess game here. While the U.S. encourages its companies to move supply chains out of China and develop domestic alternatives, China doubles down on its investments in AI and semiconductor capabilities. By launching the Ascend 910C, Huawei aims to mitigate the adverse effects of U.S. sanctions, giving Chinese firms the processing power they crave, especially in data centers and cloud computing. The catch? Nvidia is not sitting idly by. With a substantial lead in software ecosystems, thanks to their CUDA platform, and an already large and loyal user base, Huawei has its work cut out. Nvidia's edge in software and technology means that Huawei not only has to match their hardware capability, but also build a robust software environment to gain similar, if not more, traction. The buzz surrounding the Ascend 910C's market entrance has generated diverse reactions. For some, this is seen as a potential win for market diversity, something that could break Nvidia's monopoly and spur innovation. Skeptics, however, argue that it's one thing to launch a chip and another to build an ecosystem that developers trust and use extensively. An interesting indicator of Huawei's potential success would be how quickly and extensively large clients like ByteDance and Baidu adopt the chip. The mere involvement of these tech titans lends an air of anticipation and credibility to Huawei's latest endeavor. Still, breaking Nvidia's stronghold internationally will be a Herculean task, fraught with technological, geopolitical, and market challenges. Between sardonic tweets about semiconductor superiority and memes about the chip wars, the internet is rife with speculation about which company will come out on top. It's as if the market has become a high-stakes reality show, with tech enthusiasts and industry analysts alike staying glued to their screens, waiting for the next episode. But can it keep its balance without toppling over? That remains to be seen. On a more serious note, the continued development and reception of Huawei's chip within China could give us strong indications of future global impacts. But what about Nvidia countermeasures? Let's find out. Hello everyone and welcome back to Investocracy.
Chris, we're sort of awaiting economic policy details from Kamala Harris and that campaign. We have a general idea of what we're getting in former President Trump. What are your key questions for Harris when it comes to U.S.-China trade?
Well, I think the key question is, will she pursue a different policy from the Biden administration or something really quite similar. When it comes to chip issues and technology competition with China, the reality is that there's been a lot of similarity between what the Biden administration has done and what the Trump administration did when it was in power. And I don't think it's likely that Harris would meaningfully shift from any of those positions, whether it's about subsidizing domestic manufacturing or trying to limit technology transfer to China. Both of those policies have bipartisan support, and they've persisted across multiple administrations. And so I think it's fair to assume that a potential future President Harris would do something broadly similar.
Speaking of Nvidia, it would be remiss not to mention their countermeasures. By pushing their bounded H20 chips, Nvidia hopes to keep a footprint in the Chinese market, albeit a smaller one. But they know too well that their true strength lies in their advanced technology and extensive software ecosystems like CUDA, which is ubiquitous among AI developers and researchers. The introduction of new chips often spawns a ripple effect, new performance benchmarks, innovative applications, and unexpected industry partnerships. If Huawei effectively launches the Ascend 910C with a sufficiently competitive edge, the ripples will be felt globally, reshaping the ecosystem of AI hardware and potentially setting new standards for semiconductor innovation. Let's also keep in mind that Nvidia has years of psychological capital built up. They are the default choice for most high-end AI applications. Breaking this mindset might prove to be an even bigger hurdle for Huawei than competing in sheer technological prowess. However, in the rapidly evolving world of AI, nothing is set in stone. It is essential to understand the dynamics of the Chinese market in this saga. Unlike Western markets, China's technological landscape is highly centralized and driven by state-sponsored initiatives. Initiatives aimed at self-reliance in technology are gaining traction, and Huawei's new chip aligns perfectly with this national agenda. ByteDance, Baidu, and China Mobile are key players who could tip the scales. If they endorse Huawei's chip by placing substantial orders, it could trigger a domino effect, attracting more players to jump ship from Nvidia. However, even within China, Huawei has a lot to prove. The loyal Nvidia clientele will not switch allegiances simply because a new player has entered the field. It's an arms race of sorts, with the battlefield being one of cutting-edge technology and AI capabilities. As geopolitical actors continue to play hardball, companies on either side have to navigate a maze of regulations, expectations, and performance benchmarks. Meanwhile, stock market analysts are keenly watching these developments, all while issuing cryptic tweets and half-joking quips about buying the dip and holding the line. So what does all we have mentioned mean for an average stock investor? But first, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
And Chris, we've been talking about China here, and I'm curious about the Taiwan risk, knowing that a lot of the AI accelerators are manufactured over there. What sort of risk lies there right now for the chip sector?
Well, you're right that the AI industry is hugely dependent on Taiwan. It's almost the case that all AI processors are manufactured by TSMC in Taiwan. And this has been one of the reasons why the US, as well as other countries, have been trying to diversify chip supply chain. But right now, the reality is that the manufacturing capabilities of Taiwan's leading chip maker, TSMC, are ahead of competitors. And that's why, whether it's Google or whether it's Nvidia, companies are turning to TSMC to manufacture their most important AI chips.
As Huawei prepares to roll out the Ascend 910C, the stock market and tech industry find themselves at the edge of their seats. This chip, poised to rival Nvidia's H100, is more than just a semiconductor. It's a symbol of technological self-reliance amid geopolitical strife. For investors with a keen eye on the tech sector, Huawei's latest foray presents an alluring opportunity. Current forecasts are cautiously optimistic. Analysts suggest that if Huawei successfully captures a significant portion of the domestic market, it could lead to impressive stock performance in the near term. With initial orders already valuing at around $2 billion, the stock stands to benefit robustly from any additional traction gained. That said, even while being bullish about Huawei's future potential, one must also be judicious. Stock markets can be both enticing and ruthless. To navigate these waters, staying informed and making calculated decisions is key. So, where does this leave the average investor? As the tech titans battle it out in Silicon gameplay, it's worth pondering. Would you bet on Huawei shaking up the AI chip market? Or do Nvidia's established credentials keep you loyal? Share your opinions and join the conversation. Because in this high-stakes game, every insight counts. If you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.